You so much. Let's keep the conversation going with Samara Cohen. She is CIO of ETF and Index Investments over at BlackRock. Joining us on set. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So Eric Balchunas says that these flows into small caps, they're for real this time. Do you have a view on that? And I mean, we keep talking about it as a rotation trade, just to torture the English language. Is this a rotation or is this a broadening out?
I think it's an important moment in markets. I think this year has been about the mega cap tech rally, and now we have the Fed in front of us, and investors are trying to figure out, like, how do you position your portfolio when nobody's really expecting a move this week, but we think there's going to be a back to school rate cut, and small caps should be a beneficiary of that. And Eric also made a really important point about looking at some of the we think of them as the financial instrument ETFs first to get a sense of money in motion. And IWM also, I think, had its biggest ever one-day options volume print a couple of weeks ago. So often, you see traders legging into something first via the options market, which we definitely did with IWM.
Yeah, and I want to turn to another sort of risk-on asset, which is crypto.
Took you 3 minutes.
It took. I know. I could. I was
It
chomping
feels like
at the bit,
40
Katie.
seconds
Yeah.
there.
Listen, I love horse races, and this is another horse race. We've got, in this case, there's 9. Now, you guys are off to a good start. You've got $442 million in flows into ETHA. This is going to be double anybody else. Looking good that you'll be sort of the GLD of Ether once again, just like IBIT. I have a question for you. You saw the outflows from ETHE. People always ask me, well, aren't these just flows coming out of there into the other ones? Because net positive, it's actually a little less than 0 for these. Or are there new people coming into your fund?
Look, we're 1 week in, Eric, but I think you raise a really important point. This was a strong launch, but this is a story in the early days about access and finding the optimum access points for investors who want Ethereum in their portfolios. And so we were actually, if you look at trading volumes, because it's important to look at both, ETHA was, I think, 40% of new assets gathered, but 25% of trading volumes, because there has been a lot of outflows, not just from the other Ethereum higher priced ETF product, but probably also from proxy vehicles, because investors really want to get their ETH exposure, especially if they're going to use it in the context of an overall portfolio in an ecosystem they have confidence in.
And now another thing a lot of people are looking for, the next sort of catalyst will be these big wirehouses. Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, UBS, they've got trillions of advisor assets. Where are they at in terms of onboarding these ETFs and even soliciting them?
Yeah, that is exactly what I think will be the story of this year and next year. They are doing their jobs, and their job is risk analytics, due diligence, and really looking at, and they look at them very differently, of course, because, as we know, Bitcoin and ETH are two very different asset classes with different use cases, but looking at their role in the portfolio and particularly their utility as portfolio diversifiers. And I think what will then happen towards the end of this year and into next year is we will see allocations made in model portfolios, which will give us much more of a steer as to how investors are using them.
Has BlackRock put the crypto ETFs into your own model portfolios?
So our not into our model portfolios, and all of our model allocations and also all of our holdings period are generally public. So you can see where we have allocations, either very small allocations, either to crypto or crypto futures or crypto ETFs.
And I am curious. I mean, you've got Bitcoin, you've got Ether, you're leading the market there. Are you done? Are we going to see a BlackRock Solana ETF, for example? What's next?
Not in the near term. So we really look at the investability to see what meets the criteria, what meets the bar to be delivered in an ETF. And for us right now, both between investability considerations and also what we hear from our clients, Bitcoin and ETH definitely meet that bar. I think it will be a while before we see anything else.
So let's move on from crypto to another super hot topic in the markets right now, and that's private assets. Obviously, private credit, private equity, et cetera. Seems like everyone is looking for a way in. Do you see a world where we could put those private assets into ETFs? Is that in the future?
I hope so. I don't know if it's in the, I don't think it's in the very near term future, but I have given a lot of thought, we've given a lot of thought to what is the extension of our ETF and indexing capabilities that we've built into private markets. Again, going back to this theme, and it's going to be a constant theme, particularly given the correlation of, traditional risk assets in the last couple of years, or what are the portfolio diversifiers? And private markets are increasingly going to be viewed as an important portfolio diversifier. So how we actually make private markets accessible through ETFs and index is incredibly interesting, and I'm happy to talk about it more.